No one around, just me, nature, and hopefully a really nice waterfall. There's not too much snow at the moment. It's still middle of January. I think the snow's forecast later in the week, but not too much now. So we've only got about 100 metres vertical to go, so I don't anticipate too many problems, hopefully, he says. But let's go and see what we can find out. This was my first composition. I was trying to use the water to lead the eye from the front of the frame all the way through to the bigger waterfall at the background, which I think it does okay. The middle bit's a little bit dark and a bit messy. I really like the icicles on the bottom left hand corner. I wish they were a bit bigger, a bit more prominent, but there wasn't too much you could do about that. The only thing I really don't like is the patchy snow. I think it would have been better if it was much whiter or there was no snow at all. They look a little bit messy, but that's what I had. This was the image, which I quite like. I definitely prefer the version without the sky. Even though it's small, I think it's a little bit distracting. I then adjusted the composition and stepped back a little bit so I could get a bit more of the water and the rocks under the water in the frame a little bit more. I can't decide whether I like this more or less than the first one. Let me know what you think in the comments. I used a polarizer for this shot, and for most of the shots actually. I definitely prefer the polarized version here, but just to give you an idea of what a polarizer does, here's with and without. There's not much foreground, that's the only problem. The one thing I'm learning slowly is that see a waterfall and then step back. And actually by putting things in the foreground, it makes the waterfall a lot more interesting. But of course, this time of year there's no leaves. That bridge is quite ugly. And there isn't a lot else. Up next to the waterfall, the spray off the waterfall had fallen on the rocks and then everything had frozen. So there was loads of ice. It was quite interesting. I think it could make quite a nice foreground. My initial composition included quite a lot of the rocks with the ice on top of them in the foreground. I really like it, but I think maybe it was too much. So I actually took a number of different compositions, as you'll see in a moment. I don't really know which one I prefer, but do let me know in the comments if there's one that stands out to you. I experimented with different amounts of foreground, and I think the middle one is my favourite. I think that has the best balance of the three. I cannot tell you how icy this is. Ironically, the bit that looks the worst is the best. Whoa. Right, these rocks are completely deadly, so avoiding them at all costs, because it's just pure ice, completely pure ice. I reckon I've spotted a route through here. Can hopefully get up for the best composition, or what looks like the best composition. Okay, let's try this. Unfortunately, this definitely wasn't the best composition. I think actually it's quite messy. What I thought was a nice set of falls were just messy. There's some dead wood, and it's just not very nice. I think moving the camera to the right in the second image helps, but it's still not good. And I think we'll just put this one down to a learning experience and move on. So that was the Eifelsbacher Wasserfall. Yeah, that was a really nice little excursion. I didn't try and commentate because the noise of the water was just too loud. So let's go back to the office and have a look what we got. So you've already seen quite a few of the photos I got on the day. Some of them good, some of them not so good. It wasn't an easy day, but it was enjoyable, as it always is being out there. I think looking back at all the images I got on the day, I think my favourite three are these three. This first one I took as soon as I got there. I quite like the colour on this one. There wasn't much colour further towards the waterfall, so I quite like the colour. I think the bridges, whilst a little bit ugly, don't stand out too much in this, but also give a little bit of depth. I like the falls in the foreground, and I really like the leaves on that path up the right hand side, and I don't think it takes the eye away from the image too much. So yeah, quite happy with that image. The second one is this close-up of some icicles. This is actually from the photo I pointed out the icicles earlier. It's not a great photo, but I do like it. There's so much detail in this, which you can't see on YouTube, sadly. And the last one you've already seen, but I really do actually quite like this photo. I quite like almost the light coming from the heavens down the waterfall. It's quite bright. That was a little bit of editing, and also how it was out there. And I do like these ice-covered rocks and stones in the foreground. And so, yeah, overall, it's not a portfolio-worthy image, but I'm quite happy with it. So overall, it was a really good day. Really enjoyed it. It probably was not my best day's photography, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that struggles with that a little bit, always wanting every day to be epic, but we know that isn't the case. We know that can't be. So, yeah, it was fun. I definitely learned a few things, and looking forward to being out there again. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, love it if you gave me a comment or a like. And until next time, thanks very much for watching, and see you then.